So it's 2018 and Bungie's going down creek without a boat. Destiny 2 is looking worse than Prince Philip after we saw him looking like a Call of Duty zombie. Players are leaving the game at such a fast pace that Bungie couldn't get the numbers on it fast enough, and even dedicated players are failing to continue playing the game, and it hasn't even been a fucking year yet. If Bungie wanted to live, they needed to pull all the stops. No more double primaries, no more lack of endgame, and a story that wasn't filled with shitty, unfunny jokes. Bungie's solution to their dying game was Forsaken, an excellent expansion with some of the most innovation the game has ever seen, along with one of the best weapon sandboxes ever and the best endgame experience ever in the entire series. But there's one thing holding down this expansion like an anchor. One thing that really brings the expansion from an 8.5 to a 7. It's the campaign. Yes, I know. Everyone is going to say that I'm copying I Hate Everything, but while his comparison to New Super Mario Bros. Wii was cute, I think his script offers not only a lack of actively playing the game past much of the campaign, but he also fails to understand why the DLC was a 9 out of 10 from publications when he didn't even play the content worthy of that score. He never touched the raid, the dungeon, the Ascendant challenges, none of that. It honestly hurts the review. I know he states he's a story-focused solo player, but there was a story in the endgame stuff and other aspects of the DLC as well. So in his video about Forsaken, he fails to focus on the good parts of Forsaken, and it leads to an overall bad video or a bad product. I'm also going to shit on the Forsaken campaign, but I'm going to make it clear that I will only cover the campaign and nothing else. I'm lying. We might also make some of the same points, but that's par for the course when you have similar views on things. So with that out of the way, hello and welcome to part 4 of my analysis of the Destiny 2 campaigns from the Red War to the final shape. This video will contain spoilers for the entirety of Destiny 2. If you have not played the games, you don't want to be spoiled, then do not watch this video. While I'm aware this video is long, you don't need to watch it all in one sitting. There are timestamps in the video timeline and in the description if you want to stop somewhere, which I would highly advise. It's a very useful tool. One last thing before we begin, if you enjoy the video, please consider liking the video and subscribing if you want to see more content like this in the future. Your support has been a massive help for me, and I was able to purchase the laptop I've been using to script, record, and edit videos faster, since I don't always have to be sitting at my desk. I can do stuff on the go. Your support is incredibly appreciated, and I hope you continue to watch my content in the future. With all that out of the way, let's begin. We begin with Cade dying on the ground. Okay, nothing seems out of the ordinary here. Cade makes a couple retarded jokes that aren't funny, his charisma's gone, and instead we have the same dumb jokes from the Red War. It's weirdly juxtaposed to our Shadow Wizard money gang over here, who's very serious and very adamant to kill our Robophilian.
This is going to hurt a lot. Any last words?
How's your sister?
Oh, damn, that's kind of threatening. Hey guys, I think Cade might be dead or something. We cut before the mission and Cade sounds a little weird. Almost too similar to our favorite ghost. Or Nazi. Nolan North plays Cade this time around, for his fucking death. Apparently Nathan Fillion couldn't make it. Well, whatever, he's gonna sound a little different for a single mission, but it won't matter after that anyway. Petra does a cool knife trick and Cade is impressed like a child. So apparently there's a riot in the Prison of Elders from the House of Wolves DLC from the first Destiny. And we gotta quell the rioters. So we descend into the prison and indiscriminately murder all of the residents of the prison on our way to the security system, where we will continue to mow down Hive and get rid of all their garbage to make sure the security system is working properly and carry out the sci-fi version of a gulag. These prisoners aren't gonna kill themselves! Eventually, the hot purple woman tells us that he's gone and that he is trying to escape.
No. Cade, he's gone. This isn't a prison riot. It's a prison break.
Okay, we're really doing that vague bullshit all over again for a reveal, huh? Kinda cheap if you ask me, Bungie. So after Ho Chi Minhing some more prisoners, Cade shoots some of the big platform and plummets down to the bottom of the prison while he rides it like a horse. Wow, goofy, funny. After hitting the ground, Cade's come into contact with the Barons. More on them later.
And cue the ominous music.
Wow, Cade, that's some top-tier comedy, man. Or are you Star-Lord? Anyway, we get to meet some new enemies, the Scorn. Cade kills some in a glossy cutscene, which, while well made, as I've mentioned multiple times now, has very little weight besides a just looking cool, which it is really cool. Cade utilizes the full Solar Hunter kit, and it does it in a very interesting way that I enjoy watching. It's by far one of the most interesting fight scenes that we've gotten in Destiny, and the scene does have some actual tension with Cade being visually damaged, but that's not hard to top. It all ends with Cade's ghost getting shot and fucking blown up, followed by Cade getting slammed by a hammer through a wall, bringing us back around to the cutscene that started this whole thing off. A couple notes on that: Cade's death would have been way more impactful if they didn't reveal his death at the start of the game, in the marketing, or on the fucking front cover. How cool would it have been if we never knew? Like, the DLC sets up these Barons as a threat, and everyone seems to be super angry, but we don't really know why. It would give some interest into what's going on. What if in the first mission in the Prison of Elders, things start out entering and everything is revealed in a chronological order? It would be just way more impactful. But it doesn't sell as well, does it, Bungie, you hacks? Anyway, my second problem is that does no one realize how stupid this makes Cade look? He stood out in the open with his ghost and surprise, surprise, it got smoked. Why didn't he go into cover? Out of every single person in the fucking Vanguard, the tower even, why the actual fuck would you ever stand out in the open and let your ghost get shot? Especially since there's an apparently known precedent for ghosts just getting killed normally. According to some articles of lore, ghosts can be destroyed with simply putting a ton of damage into it. While apparently the rifleman's weapon was similar to a weapon of sorrow, which allowed him to kill it in one shot, it shouldn't matter because Cade should just be hiding. It also doesn't make sense how despite the prisoners being locked in cryopods, they somehow have guns conveniently being capable of destroying fucking ghosts in one shot. It's fucking stupid. Alright, so here's how I would fix this scene. Cade takes damage as before, the rifleman fucks off and uses a cloaking ability to hide. As Cade is fighting off, occasionally cutting to the rifleman following Cade in his movements. As Cade takes a ton of damage and hides under some rubble, he gets out his ghost and the rifleman charges his rifle. Cade notices at the last second, but before he can do anything, his ghost is shot, sending the debris flying in different directions and leaving him in the open again. While this cutscene is still good, it still fails to be logical in any way possible. Following consistency as well as cause and effect would lead a player to the conclusion that this isn't something that Cade would do following his internal logic, which breaks the entire scene. And again, while I think this cutscene is better than most, it has a lot of good, but it also has a lot of bad. I want to like this scene and feel the emotion behind Cade bringing up Ace, the full utilization of the Hunter kit, and the choreography, but everything is just not as good when you have these stupid things that just break the entire scene. And if you like it, that's fine, I get it. But you have to acknowledge that this shit just doesn't work, and it hurts the overall quality. Alright, rant over, let's get back to the video. We descend further and encounter the enemy type that I mentioned before, the Scorn. While IHE called it a reskin enemy type, I think he's a fucking moron for saying this, because they're very clearly different from the Fallen. The Stalkers are generic, sure, and Raiders are very similar to Fallen snipers, but Screebs cause splash damage upon exploding, Ravengers have a weak spot on their lantern which explode in other enemies in the vicinity, Wraiths are melee enemies that deal a ton of solar damage as well as shooting a line of fire in front of them, Abominations shoot lightning from their hands, they're like a tank of the Scorn enemy that the Fallen just doesn't have, and a chieftain who uses these sprinkler things that range from lines of fire to void shields similar to a servitor, and arc abilities that tether the player and drag them closer, and also, as a new addition, stasis that slows players. It's unique and different. It's an actual new enemy type that visually and gameplay wise is different. Don't listen to IHE, Bungie, we want more of this. After defeating some more enemies, we get a cutscene that wraps all around back to where we started with Cade fucking dying. Before we can get Aldrin, yeah, by the way, this is Aldrin, the blue guy that we know nothing about from Destiny 1 Vanilla, we all thought died in the Taken King. Yeah, that's the bad guy. He fucks off and we get some final moments that I do like for the most part. The joke he makes about his fucked up condition, or lack of saying anything anymore, and he has one of the greatest final lines of dialogue to send off his character, even out of context.
You tell Zavala and Ikora, the Vanguard, is the best bet I ever lost.
Even though I haven't liked the lead up to everything that's happened so far, I really do like these final moments with Cade. I think that Bungie genuinely did a really good job. Props on y'all. But I do want to go on a rant about this clear setup for a revenge plot. Normally in a revenge plot, you want to create a story where the villain is someone we either have a connection to or is just in the bad guy's way. Well, without the lore, it looks like Cade was just in the way. But with the lore, it looks like Cade wasn't in the way. He was directly responsible for the imprisonment of Fickrel, Aldrin's closest ally, and also Aldrin himself. Not only is this poorly communicated, but there could have been a way better way to set this whole thing up. A lot of stuff is actually explained in background lore, like how Aldrin survived the fucking giant mega death wave that Oryx used during the Taken King, or how the Scorn exist, or where all this shit came from. All of it is explained in the lore, but none of it is explained in the campaign. None of it at all. While a lot of plot points in Forsaken do call back to previous points in Destiny, they couldn't be fucked due to the least amount of effort to explain any of it at all in the actual campaign. While I will touch on all of this later, it's still important to remember that I'm only going to be talking about the campaign. And the campaign not explaining shit and just handing it off to the lore doesn't fucking count. So how do we fix this? Well, what we could do is, in Warmind, we could have had a free strike, or also an adventure where we go and hunt down Aldrin and Fickrel and all the other Scorn Barons on Mars, since that's kind of where Aldrin crash landed, and that's kind of where Fickrel was created and the Scorn were created. Just say that Aldrin is going insane and he and his fallen friend are reviving Fallen. It would explain in Forsaken that Cade continued to hunt and capture the other Scorn Barons and threw them in the prison. Now that we have a motive for Aldrin that was set up, a personal connection, and some history, all in one strike or one adventure. Everything else can be explained later, but of course it isn't. Because as per usual, Bungie didn't want to think ahead about writing their own fucking story. Anyway, moving on to the next cutscene, we have an almost funeral for Cade, except no one is there. Is this an after funeral thing? Are there just not huge funeral events for Vanguard leaders? I don't know, they never tell us as per. Back to the cutscenes, Zavala and Ikora have a back and forth on how they're going to go about the fallout of Cade's death. Zavala thinks we should do nothing and focus on the city, while Ikora thinks we should all leave the city in a mass invasion of the Reef and kill Aldrin. Both are stupid, because they're both extremes. Why not just do something that's not going to war or doing nothing? Why not a strike force like what's brought into raids and hunt them down? The best of the best guardians to hunt down and kill Aldrin and his barons? But no, instead we decide that it's just us, that's enough. Okay. We have this dumbass logo thing again from the Red War telling us that the bad guys are here. I don't understand why this is still here, but I digress. We have a cutscene of Aldrin in the Reef Awoken throne room from Destiny 1. He has a schizophrenic moment and his barons look confused.
Marasav, my sister, your queen, may be gone. But she is with us now, and always.
Now that he is the uncontested leader of the Awoken, I guess he just gives the Reef to the Barons and tells them to go unleash chaos.
Go, unleash upon the fallen chaos.
Right. Oh yeah, also Aldrin is fucking insane and sees his sister, who definitely fucking died in the Taken King. This dialogue sucks. Aldrin lights the throne on fire and we somehow combust like a barrel of gasoline. How the fuck does this thing light on fire so fast? Is this room made out of fucking charcoal? So now we head to the Reef, a really cool area that feels authentically Destiny. I know that sounds kind of gay, and for the record, I just don't know how else to explain it. If Destiny had a Western setting, this would be it. The purple sky, space rocks held together by giant industrial wire, destroyed base camps, and a giant spire in the distance that sells that fantasy element. I was also starting to have stuttering appear at this point in the video, so if you see that shit, it's really annoying. It's just because Bungie couldn't work it out. It's like a bug in the game and it hasn't been fixed. I'm really sorry, and this is the best I could do. Kill some Fallen, scan some shit, and open a secret door before encountering the Scorn Barons. We kill more Scorn and talk to Petrovenge, the woman from the first mission who tells us,
You're late. Here I was thinking I'd be hunting Aldrin alone.
to find her at some bunker. The Fallen become enemies. Some Fallen become allies, and this is one of the first of, if not the only time we had allies in Destiny fighting in the field alongside us. The AI is more A than I, but they're still really fun to have and make the gameplay more dynamic.
Not that I'm complaining, but why are Fallen fighting against other Fallen?
Wait, Ghost, do you not remember the House of Wolves? Anyway, you kill a big bad and meet the Spider, a really cool character who is made even better later on in the game, played by Robin Atkin Downes, who also plays the Prophet of Regret in Halo 2, or also additional voice lines in Arcane.
Well, if it isn't Petra Venge, the worst jailer in the solar system. What brings you to my home away from home? Away from home. On the run, are we?
I heard you lost the shore.
You lost my shore.
Thought you might want some help getting it back.
A guardian. And where, oh where, pray tell, is its ghost?
Never mind the ghost. There were 2 guardians at the Prison of Elders when it fell. Cade 6, and this one. The 3 of us want the same thing, Spider. Uldren and his barons. Dead.
Oh, what is your... Oh, I see. Despite our clear, mutually aligned interests, I'm sorry, but I can't help but feel like it is I who will come up short. It's true. I know where Uldren and his barons scheme. You go, scratch your itch, then we can just say, you owe me. Do we have a deal? Deal?
Okay, let this cutscene play out because it's just really cool. I don't mind the spider not really doing anything a whole lot, but it would be nice to see his influence seen a bit more on the game world. Him dropping care packages during public events, or even some graffiti warning residents of the Reef and about the spider. It would feel like we made a deal with the wrong guy as if establishing him as a threat. There was this really cool bow that was sunset, so I immediately dismantled it and did the worst part of this campaign. Doing bounties. I understand we need to gain the spider's trust, but damn, this is just boring and padding time. So after we do those bullshit bounties, we finally get to play a mission.
Petra is out for blood. But we're here for justice. Aren't we?
No, Ghost, I'm here for blood. Don't speak for me, bitch. To pad out the mission, we do more bullshit, and eventually we all get to fight the Barons one by one.
Go on. Take out your ghost. I need the target practice.
Look out.
Every shot I take adds another...
Okay, I took out my Ghost. Shoot the fucker. Come on. Do it. No? Okay. You see, this would have been a nice detail. Imagine if you actually took out your Ghost and he shot it and you instantly died. That'd be something interesting that no one would have thought of, but it would be a nice touch anyway. Sadly, it's all bullshit. After we fight a Scorn tank that you don't fight a whole lot differently from a normal tank, but it has a flamethrower and a ton of rockets on its back, it's fine, I guess. We get ambushed by Scorn, which are very quickly liquidated, and we move on to fighting the Hangman, which is a fun intro. This little fucker launched me 20 feet behind me. He leaves like the rest of them, and my dad. Then we fight the Fanatic. I mean, his retarded undead child. After killing his infant, they all scatter, and the mission is over, and the spider gives us a proper introduction to the Scorn Barons. This Suicide Squad-ass intro thing is fine. It's really fucking corny though. In the original Forsaken campaign, you get to go after whichever Scorn Baron you want, but in the final release of the campaign, you have to fight them in an order that the game wants you to fight them in. So that's something, I guess. Alright, let's get on to killing these fuckers. First, we hunt the rider by stealing a pike, calibrating it, and hunting him down. His pike is fire trail, so if you stay on his ass the whole time, you have to maneuver around him or else the fire is going to kill you. This fight is actually more balanced because the pike doesn't do an insane amount of damage, combined with the enemy density makes it one of the harder fights in the game, but then I just pulled out my golden gun and ended his ass. Now we can move on to the Mad Bomber, the second Baron. He uses bombs. Wow, Nanok, what a wonderful analysis, you fucking retard. Anyway, we have to disable bombs, Prison of Elders style, killing some Scorn chieftains, and we finally corner him in a cave where we have to disable bombs and try not to die. While the act of disabling bombs isn't that complicated, the enemy density in the small area allows for the gameplay to actually be kind of fun. After killing the Baron, we have to escape and disable one final bomb before leaving the cave moments before it explodes. This is one of my favorite fights. But now we get to, by far, my favorite fight, the Hangman. The Hangman starts in honestly a pretty boring way. You have to save some of the spider's servitors, again, kill some enemies, and finally get to the Hangman's lair. The fight itself, though, is dope. It's this tiny arena with this dude slamming his hammer on a chain down, sending you flying into a nearby wall. In fact, this was one of the only times I actually died during my entire playthrough of Forsaken. While I purposely crippled myself, I did enjoy the fight, and I would have liked it a lot more if the boss dealt more damage and the boss had more health, which is basically just an issue with game balance in Destiny as a whole, not an issue with the fight. I honestly don't know why Bungie never used this fight again. It's really interesting and really fun. I don't know why we don't have an encounter where he's in a small room again. They seem to like to reuse bosses a lot, and I don't know why this is one that Bungie hasn't reused again. I personally wouldn't mind it being reused myself. Next we have the Trickster, who is honestly really fucking good. This little cunt hides explosives under engrams and ammo like your average terrorist. You have to take these counterfeit exotic engrams that detonate after a certain amount of time or explode on impact, so you can use them to blow open doors and kill enemies. The boss itself died super fast from my fucking pistol, really showing how harsh the power creep is, and we'll get more into that later. While the Trickster is a super cool boss, it was unfortunately dragged down by the tiny health pool of the bosses. I know I'm bringing up the health pool thing and the power creep up a lot, but when every single fight revolves around fighting a boss at the end, it gets really, really annoying when you just want to enjoy the fight, but you can't because you kill it so fast. The Mindbender is next and is pretty boring, honestly. You kill some Scorn, and then same to the Hive that you've been fighting since day one with nothing new, so I genuinely just don't really care. I mean, it introduces Ascendant Planes, which is really cool, but fuck, there's nothing new. There's nothing interesting to this fight besides that. No cool mechanics or anything interesting. He's like, oh wow, look at me, I can get out of this portal. Oh, I'm going back into it. Oh wow, I'm going into this portal. And it's just really fucking boring. Next is a Rifleman, and his gimmick is that he has decoys that you can shoot. That's pretty much it. Final boss is alright, and that's about it. Kill this fucker. Let's get this campaign over with. After killing Chris Kyle, we get a cutscene where Aldrin goes to the Shard of the Traveler. You know, the shard that was left in the same spot since the Red War. Yeah, that one. The one that I've bitched about a ton and that I will continue to bitch about. The Vanguard has yet to move this fucking thing, allowing for this delusional schizo to take a shard and use it to summon a totally dead real sister who keeps reappearing out of fucking thin air, and this retard refuses to question it! Also, I'll get into the reason why these Fallen are bowing down to Aldrin eventually. I'll talk about it later in the video, but to kind of summarize it, Aldrin created the House of Dusk, which is the one you see throughout the entirety of Destiny 2. Doesn't make it any better though, because they never explain this shit. They only tell you all this stuff in the lore. So Aldrin grabs the shard and leaves to go somewhere, I guess. The last Baron we fight in the Reef is the Machinist. Or the Mechanist? Machinist. I'll go with the Machinist. We start by having to fix one of those dog shit tanks from the vanilla campaign. I'm not a fan of these kinds of missions, so let's quickly get it over with and move on to the last mission already, please. We get a cutscene where Aldrin and his head honcho Fickrel go to a new destination called the Dreaming City. Fickrel begs Aldrin not to go inside the portal that they stand in front of, since if he dies, Fickrel can't bring him back. Aldrin tells Fickrel to fuck off and go defend him. Aldrin seems hesitant to go in the portal, but then Mara appears and starts calling him a pussy. Aldrin assures her he's not, and she starts verbally jerking him off, so he comes and steps in the portal. Hit that fucking logo again, my god. So now we're on to the final mission, and as per with most Destiny campaigns, the first and the last missions are the best. To give them credit, the music, the fighting AI, the explosions, and the environment really add to the entire experience. It's fun.
Approaching the Watchtower Assault.
Approaching by air.
Then we fight Fickrel, and this fight is honestly pretty good too. There's lots of enemies, and the lightning that Fickrel casts make the fight overall a lot more engaging. I actually died during this fight. It was one of the few times the fight was actually hard. Halfway through his health, you actually get teleported to a smaller area with only Fickrel, and the second half is easier, but it's still just as fun. I actually remember this fight being fairly hard when Forsaken came out. If only we could play a legendary version of this campaign. If only we could play this campaign again at all. A man can dream. Then we get to jump in and out between the Ascendant realm that I mentioned earlier, and fight another, less interesting boss, and then jump through the Ascendant plane again with more enemies this time. Aldrin starts having post-nut clarity and is really regretting listening to this bitch.
Free me, oh brother mine.
No.
Something's wrong.
We get to the door, Aldrin presents the shard of the Traveler, and we need to take a moment here. For those who don't know what's coming next, please answer this question. What comes through the portal? Number 1, Mara comes out of the portal and jerks him off more. Number 2, before Aldrin can present the shard, we barge through the door and shoot him in the face. Number 3, a giant asshole monster appears, eating Aldrin like a fucking pill, and instead of fighting Aldrin like the entire point of this video and the campaign was, we fight some stupid fucking asshole which has zero context for its existence. Or why a giant asshole monster tricked Aldrin into freezing it. You already know what the fucking answer is. Fuck this goddamn campaign. This is so fucking stupid. I want to blow my fucking brains out. This is genuinely so stupid. Why is there a giant fucking asshole monster? Like, you couldn't make it look any different. It had to look like a giant asshole. Like, oh my fucking god. So the fight happens. The squid monster dies. Aldrin is freed from the asshole, and we have a back and forth with him.
You have my undivided attention. Now where's my sister?
Bro, she is fucking dead. Let it go, you fucking goblin.
Yes. What would the notorious Cade 6 do?
Actually, I don't know what Cade would do because we fucking know nothing about him. So I shoot Aldrin at the same time as Petra and he dies. It's left ambiguous, and I don't know why you couldn't just have the option. Like, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, just let the player choose instead of this stupid shit. It allows the player to feel like they finally have a choice in the narrative instead of just drifting along with decisions that are already planned out for us. I'm sure it would have gone a long way for a lot of players, but that's pretty much it. Besides some small talks with NPCs of the tower and collecting a few quests, we're done. What a shit show. We never learn where the Scorn come from, just that their ether is wrong. We never learn what happened to Aldrin or why he went insane or where he was after the Taken War. There's no real lead up to what happens in the campaign at all. We don't even get an answer for why Aldrin killed Cade. Why did no one ask him this? Why doesn't Petra ask him why he did it? While the lore explains a lot of this, I don't think it's fair to use the lore as a crutch to explain the important pieces of your story. It should be used to increase your knowledge of the story, not explain it. Now, while I don't like the campaign, there's a whole other story I enjoy. The story that follows after the Forsaken campaign is the story of the Dreaming City. So let's go back to the Taken King in Destiny 1. Just a disclaimer, this will be using information both learned in-game as well as information gathered in the lore. Destinypedia has been a huge help to this entire process, so shout out to them and all the shit they've cataloged. I literally wouldn't be able to make this part without everyone who contributed, so thank you. During the first events of the Taken King, we get a cutscene of a battle between the Awoken people and Oryx. When Oryx slams his sword down, it sends a Death Star shockwave across the rings of Saturn. Marasov dies and her tech priests, or Techians, teleport back to the Dreaming City, which has been completely evacuated besides Riven, a wish-dreaming dragon called an Ahamkara, hence the name Dreaming City. Anyway, once the Techians escape back to the Dreaming City using the portal, Taken Energy managed to make its way through the portal since it was open for a bit longer in hopes Marasov would join them. The Taken end up corrupting all the Techians and Riven. So what about Aldrin? Well, he didn't die in this cutscene, even though it's heavily implied. What ends up happening is his ship crashes and he wanders the sands of Mars until he finds a fallen Kell of Kings. He forms a new fallen house with the House of Kings, another fallen fleeing from the events of the Taken War and the Siva Crisis called the House of Dusk. They're symbolized by the purple fallen we see throughout Destiny 2. After building up an army, he waited for the Red Legion to rip up the Reef, and once the Red Legion left, he too invaded the Reef. Stealing from and slaughtering fellow Awoken, all justified under his twisted beliefs that it would avenge and eventually resurrect Mara. All while doing this, Aldrin is corrupted when he consumes ether and the essence of Riven somehow. That's never fully explained. Eventually, his murder tour leads him to Fikrul, a fallen Archon priest who is badly wounded by passing guardians. Aldrin saves him unknowingly, making a wish to Riven, probably caused due in part to the essence of Riven he consumed. Wishing Fikrul back to life also creates dark ether, thus the Scorn. Aldrin and Fikrul take over the House of Kings, slaughtering the members and turning them into Scorn and Scorn Barons. Also hence why the Scorn usually have yellow armor or yellow coatings on them. It's because they were once members of the House of Kings. Aldrin left the Scorn to their devices on the Reef while he looked for answers about Mara. Cade and Petra captured or killed most of the Scorn Barons, including Fikrul. While Aldrin was captured much later by Cade, Petra, and a strike team locking him in the Prison of Elders. All this leads to the events of Forsaken. Back to Riven. The events of Forsaken, including Uldren getting eaten by the asshole monster, was all set up by Riven. Uldren walking through the Ascendant Plane opened up a seal around the Dreaming City after the portal from before was closed. Petra discovers something isn't right about Uldren's death and brings the Guardian inside the Dreaming City to figure out what was going on. After utilizing what is called an Oracle engine, Petra manages to discover that Mara is in fact alive and lived the giant death wave during the Taken War, since she appeared in her own Ascendant Plane, which had been corrupted by Oryx as she planned. She wanted to use Oryx to enter his Ascendant Plane and gather the parts she needed to execute the next parts of her plan. Just as a little side note, Mara is a fucking mastermind. She has planned out every single event, and all of this is part of a plan to come out ahead at the end of all this. Her attack with the Awoken leading to their deaths wasn't done out of a lack of understanding of what Oryx could do. It was done with the complete understanding that his Mega Death Wave would kill all the Awoken and destroy all of his hive ships, causing Oryx to hold his ground, or space for a bit, while the Vanguard noticed what the fuck was going on and sent in the Guardian to deal with him. They were all pieces in her intergalactic game of chess. Anyway, back to the Oracle engine. Mara tells us that she knows Uldren is dead, Riven and her Technians have been corrupted, and tells Petra to let the Guardians into the Dreaming City so that they can enter the Watchtower, kill Riven, and extract her heart. Next is the Dreaming City raid, which might I add is incredibly well made from both a mechanical and story standpoint. We free Kali in Encounter 1, Shirochi in Encounter 2, we open the vault that is so complex for the average Destiny player that they can't even figure it out in Encounter 4, we kill Riven in Encounter 5, and we finally extract her heart and cleanse it in Encounter 6. Despite the best efforts of the first team to complete the raid, that being Clan Redeem, good job by the way, we all fell right into Riven's trap. Mara may be smart, but Riven is a fucking wish-granting space dragon. Ahamkara have the ability to transcend death and grant wishes to themselves for one last wish, Riven's being cursing the Dreaming City. Riven allowed the Taken corrupted Ascendant Plane to leak into the Dreaming City, causing it to slowly corrupt week by week until entire parts of the city were consumed by Taken energy. During this time, the final Techian Sadia is freed from the corruption in the Corrupted Strike, as well as a non-stop war between the Guardians and the Awoken soldiers, versus the combined forces of the Taken and the Hive, with some Scorn fucking about. This corruption caused by the Ascendant Plane opened up a portal into the Shattered Throne dungeon. There, the true source of the corruption is discovered. A hive wizard named Dolinkaru, daughter of Savathun. After completing the dungeon, the corruption is removed, but then the real curse appears. Corrupting the Dreaming City isn't the curse, it's the endless 3-week loop of the city slowly being corrupted by Taken energy. And to this day, there is no solution for breaking the curse loop within the Dreaming City. And if the Guardian chooses to do so, they can charge an offering for the Oracle engine from earlier to discuss the changes and news of the Dreaming City with Marasov in person. And Mara will bring up several topics to the player, which I'll go through right now. During the first cycle, she discusses how she had the chance to destroy the Traveler, but chose not to due to the fear of too many unknowns. How the Traveler causes more wars than we know, and that too much of a good thing, that being the light, can make a person sick, which is why she believes the Awoken have struck a perfect balance between the light and the dark. Next is the third cycle. Mara visits the Emissary of the Nine. They offer information in return for a deal. She vents about her issues with the Nine, how their games never end, and that the Emissary was once a friend of hers. This friend being Orin or Nasan R, who turned into the Emissary shortly after the Red War after seeking information about the Nine. We learn about this the next season after this in Season of the Drifter, otherwise known as the Gambit season. During the fourth cycle, Mara demands to know how Uldren died, telling her that he died caused by delusions from Riven with hopes of freeing her. She knew her plan had a chance of getting Uldren killed, so she feels remorse, but she's not surprised by his death. After reminding her that Uldren killed Cade, she doesn't seem to care all that much. During the sixth visit, Mara and Ghost have a back and forth. Ghost telling her that she's a bad queen, Mara telling Ghost that he doesn't understand the plan. This eventually causes her to scream at Ghost, shaking her entire court, and telling the Guardian to leave and get the Ghost out of her sight. During the seventh and final visit, Mara tells us that she dreamt of having a friend, that being Elsie Bray or the Exo Stranger. Before she leaves, she says, "The next act is about to begin." So what is Mara's plan? Well, it's not said for a fact, but I believe that it's the destruction of the darkness and more specifically the Hive. in order to protect her own people, contorting anything and everything into her way where she feels like she has the advantage and the ability to make the decisions on her own terms without fear of being put in a corner. She's been playing this game of chess, thinking 5 steps ahead of everyone else. While it doesn't always work in her favor, her plan will succeed. This version of the story is just so much more interesting, because it's not just a campaign that's laid out for you, this is stuff you have to search for on your own. I feel like this should be the storytelling of Destiny. One where we have to seek out the answers ourselves, one where we have to do the research ourselves. It's not just put in our lap. We're not just going through a campaign with corny dialogue, we're actually trying to find stuff out. We're almost like little space detectives in a way. The Dreaming City story was much more interesting, much more engaging, and overall much better told than the entire Forsaken campaign was. And I think it's unfortunate that Bungie never went for this style of storytelling again, at least not in this capacity. A lot of people, including myself, all agree that the large majority of Bungie's campaign writers, besides maybe the Witch Queen, fucking suck balls. But honestly, I think this is done deliberately. These campaigns are made for Call of Duty and Halo players, while side content like The Dreaming City was made for people who are fans of Bungie's other works like Marathon. The story of The Dreaming City is genuinely fucking amazing. It's so good with connections from all different parts of Destiny. It really makes Forsaken feel like an interconnected story, while the campaign is just killing a bunch of intelligent space zombies. I wish some parts were better set up. Like, I wish we could have been a part of the fire team who captured Aldrin. What about a strike where we track down Aldrin in the DLC that takes place on Mars? You know, the DLC right before this one? Everything else fits in place because it gets explained in the game. The only part that doesn't is elements of the campaign. It honestly feels like it was made up after the content surrounding the Dreaming City was made. Like Bungie needed something to draw in players to the DLC, so they put a bullet in Cade's head and slapped it all over the advertising. They used the campaign as a draw and the endgame for the actual story they wanted to tell. Why do you think the Forsaken campaign was removed and the content surrounding the Dreaming City wasn't? Sure, it might have been for storage reasons, it probably was that fact, but I think it partially was because it wasn't the Forsaken story that Bungie wanted to tell. The campaign isn't a fleshed out enough revenge story. If it wasn't for Cade being there, Aldrin wouldn't have searched for him. He died because he was in the way. It wouldn't have gone differently if it was Zavala or Petra in the Crossfire. Well, I think it was really unfortunate that because of their circumstances surrounding Destiny 2, it needed a way to draw in players and put eyes on them. But regardless, going through the campaign, doing the Dreaming City endgame quest, listening to a wide library of music from Forsaken alone, playing the raid, I really got the feeling that this was Bungie at their most passionate during Destiny. This was Bungie trying their hardest with what they had to make something they could truly be proud of. While many will look back on what they did and see what Bungie has become now, feeling disgust and disappointment, I agreed, we should still remember how fucking hard Bungie worked for this expansion, and that Bungie can remember the feeling that they felt making Forsaken and carry that into future content. So maybe we can get another expansion just as good as Forsaken. Hey everyone, thank you for watching this. This took way longer than I initially thought. This video was supposed to come out in around December, but mental health is a bitch and kind of destroyed me, as well as just college work in general, so it pushed the video back a lot further than initially planned. This is basically the last of what I have to do for editing this video, so I just want to kind of give a few updates on how things are going, as well as some stuff that you can look forward to in the future. So as of right now, I've already got the audio recorded for the Shadowkeep video. That's coming very soon, as well as a video on Halo 4. I'm going to also try and do a bit of streaming again. I kind of miss doing it. I did an impromptu stream a little while ago. I didn't do too bad. I got like 10 concurrent views or something like that. So for everyone who tuned in for that, thank you, genuinely thank you. I really appreciated that.
Chud Snake? Are you kidding me?
There's a Twitter account called Chud Snake. Is this what you're talking about?
It's not a thing. It's not a fucking thing.
It's a thing, dude.
It's not.
Then explain it.
All right,
Yeah,
all right, listen. So what happens, right, is that the fucking buck broken ace white boy, right? the buck broken ace white boy, right? Maybe a little nerd cuck shit, right? Gets fucked by the black guy Tyrone. He gets buck broken, right? Black guy fucking the white cuck boy.
These are just words.
And then no. And then Chud Snake comes by and eats Tyrone. and it's stuck in his throat because he's a snake and he's also a chud. And then beta white boy cuck slave comes by and asks, "Where's Tyrone?" And Chud Snake looks around. "I don't know." And that's Chud Snake.
Dude, when I looked up
If
Snake,
anyone has like instant replay on, can you like save that?
but I want to try and do a bit more streams when I'm feeling a bit better. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna play Destiny. I know that Guardian Games is literally tomorrow, so I don't know, maybe that would be fun to do. I also don't want there to be this big of a gap in between uploads ever again. I'm gonna try and work a bit harder on getting videos out on time, or doing more videos like that, and making them longer too, instead of waiting like what, 3-4 months for a 20-minute video. I don't want to do that anymore. That seems a bit ridiculous. So I'm gonna try and make more videos. I'm gonna try and upload them more often. I'm gonna do more collab stuff. I might start looking for editors. I have no idea, but that would be something that I might do. This video this video here, this Forsaken video, was supposed to come out years ago. Like this is a video that has been in the works for a very long time. In fact, one sec, let me pull up my original Forsaken script, because the original Forsaken script was actually longer. So the first draft of the script I wrote on September 2nd, or I started it on September 2nd, 2021. That is a long fucking time. So you can understand that, I actually, when I was making this video originally, there was a point where it was like a quarter done. It was like 25% done, and I just scrapped it because I wasn't happy with where it was going. But I'm happy with where it is now. I'm really happy with where it is now, and I hope you guys were too. I hope you guys enjoyed it a lot, just as much as I did. I didn't enjoy working on it though. I'm gonna be honest. But that's pretty much it for me. More uploads to come in the future, less gaps in between uploads, possibly more streaming. Some more streaming would be fun. But yeah, that's pretty much what's in store for me. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I genuinely really appreciate it. It's been a rough few months, but I think this time I'm back, and I can get back to uploading more than like a handful of videos a year. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Become a member if you would like. That's a thing that I have now. It's not, too expensive. I got the original intro for this video uploaded there, and I also have a full review of Overcooked on my members page as well. So if you want to sign up there, go right ahead. I'm going to upload more shit whenever I can. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye.